You get up in the morning, you go to work, you come home, you have your tea, you watch telly a bit, and you go to bed. You get up and you go to work. I mean, look at it. Other ways of living life than this drudgery. This world is crazy because it's so limited. The way it is, the way it's structured, it's slavery. It's not serving people. People are serving it. That's what we are. We're slaves to a system. Politicians are slaves to a system. They go into the system, they think they're going to change it, the system changes them.
And what we do is we put the child into the corridor of this grade system with a kind of, come on, kitty, kitty, kitty. And yeah, you go to kindergarten, you know? And that's a great thing because when you finish that, you'll get into first grade. And then come on, first grade leads to second grade and so on, and then you get out of grade school, you go to high school, and it's revving up, the thing is coming. Then you're going to go to college, and by Jove, then you get into graduate school, and when you're through with graduate school, you go out and join the world. And then you get into some racket where you're selling insurance, and they've got that quota to make, and you're going to make that. And all the time, this thing is coming. It's coming. It's coming. That great thing, the success you're working for. Then when you wake up one day about 40 years old, you say, my God, I've arrived. I'm there. And you don't feel very different from what you always felt. And there's a slight letdown because you feel there's a hoax. And there was a hoax. A dreadful hoax. They made you miss everything. We thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end. The thing was to get to that end, success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or to dance while the music was being played.
And the world impoverishes itself by spending $1 trillion a year on preparations for war, and by employing perhaps half the scientists and high technologists on the planet in military endeavors. How would we explain all this to a dispassionate extraterrestrial observer? What account would we give of our stewardship of the planet Earth? We have heard the rationales offered by the superpowers. We know who speaks for the nations, but who speaks for the human species? Who speaks for Earth? From an extraterrestrial perspective, our global civilization is clearly on the edge of failure in the most important task it faces, preserving the lives and well-being of its citizens and the future habitability of the planet. But if we're willing to live with the growing likelihood of nuclear war, shouldn't we also be willing to explore vigorously every possible means to prevent nuclear war? Shouldn't we consider in every nation major changes in the traditional ways of doing things, a fundamental restructuring of economic, political, social, and religious institutions? We've reached a point where there can be no more special interests or special cases. Nuclear arms threaten every person on the Earth. Fundamental changes in society, sometimes labeled impractical or contrary to human nature, as if nuclear war were practical, or as if there were only one human nature. But fundamental changes can clearly be made. We're surrounded by them. In the last 2 centuries, abject slavery, which was with us for thousands of years, has almost entirely been eliminated in a stirring worldwide revolution. Women, systematically mistreated for millennia, are gradually gaining the political and economic power traditionally denied to them. and some wars of aggression have recently been stopped or curtailed because of a revulsion felt by the people in the aggressor nations. The old appeals to racial, sexual, religious chauvinism and to rabid nationalist fervor are beginning not to work. A new consciousness is developing which sees the earth as a single organism and recognizes that an organism at war with itself is doomed. We are one planet.
The human being realize that we are all one, basically. Not as an idea, but as a fact. Because when you go to India, you see the misery, the confusion, the anxiety, the despair of people running to their petty little gods whom they have created. You come to Europe, it's exactly the same thing. You understand, sir? First, to realize, not verbally, but in your heart, in your blood, in your whole thinking, that human beings right through the world go through the same agonies that one goes through. The loneliness, the despair, the depressions, the extraordinary uncertainty, insecurity, whether they live 10,000 miles away or 2,000 miles or here. They're all psychologically bound together. If one realizes that profoundly in your guts, in your blood, in your heart, in your mind, then you are responsible.
Don't you see? You're a great crowd. Before I go, even though this is a world where good men are murdered, men who try and help are murdered and cut down in their prime of their youth, and hacks and mediocres and fascists run everything else, I'm going to share with you a vision that I had, because I love you, and you feel it. You know all that money we spend on nuclear weapons and defense every year, trillions of dollars, correct? Instead, just play with this. If we spent that money feeding and clothing the poor of the world, and it would pay for it many times over, not one human being excluded, we could, as one race, explore outer space together in peace forever.
All our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing. I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
You know what would change the world overnight is if we as a human race started doing what we knew to be right and just in the circumstances that we face, instead of making those decisions as so many people do and have long done on basis of what is right for me in this circumstance that I face. Okay, the just thing to do might not be in the moment the best thing to do, but it's the just and right thing to do. And if we started doing what we knew to be right when we're faced with these decisions, as opposed to what we perceive is right for us in the moment, although doing what is right for us in the eternity, then everything would change. If we want a world of peace, then be peaceful. It sounds trite, it sounds simple, but it's devastatingly profound. That's what we need to be with each other. You know, we have people going on anti-war marches who are hurling abuse at each other in their relationships and stuff like that. If we war with each other, then the collective version of that is warring collectively. If we want peace, let's be peaceful. If we want a world of kindness, then let's be kind. And it must come, for goodness sake. It must, if we're all kind to each other. We live in a kind world. Martin Luther King said, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor politic nor popular, but one must take it because it is right. And when enough of us take that stance, everything changes. The revolution is not a revolution of weapons, it's not a revolution of fighting. It's not a revolution of hatred. It's a revolution of perception, because everything changes. I am a lion then. I'm not the lamb I kept seeing in the mirror and the world kept telling me I was. And then that expresses itself out into the true nature of who we are. So we have this crazy world, and it gets crazier. The idea is to keep us so focused on survival. It's like that mass mind control manual that came to light a few years ago called Silent Weapons for a Quiet War, how to manipulate the population. And one of the lines in it said, keep them busy, busy, busy back on the farm with the other animals. So the more you can keep us in a state of survival, more and more stress. Look, mate, you might be saying interesting things, but I live in the real world, mate. That's the idea, to keep us in that state of stress. And we're now bringing it to younger and younger people. Kids under tremendous stress to pass exams, to show how indoctrinated they are in the system. Oh, must pass your exams. Oh, my son got I've seen it on car stickers. My son got so-and-so, so-and-so. I'm very pleased for you. By the way, he got it, you didn't. This parental glory-seeking. Oh, go, you've got to pass your exams. You're going to be a banker. Your mum wants you to be a banker. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Whatever happened to life? How do you spell happy, teacher? What's all that about? Did we ever talk about that? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? You know, people, we have these measurements of success that are sold to us that we take on, and they're all about more and more and more. How many more people are this? How many more people are that? How many more people are this? How many more people have passed degrees? How many more people have got a mortgage? How many more people? And yet it's the other way. It tells the real story. How few people are unfulfilled. How few people are under stress. How few people are ill. How few people are homeless. How few people are terrified of the future. These are the measurements of a success of society, surely, not more and more and more. You know, we have an economic system which I call take, make and throw away, where the whole thing of success is called economic growth, is how fast you can take from the earth, turn it into things, sell more things, throw away more things, and start again. The faster you do that, the more successful you are. And we call it the cutting edge of human society. It's turning the planet into a shithole. And we have the cleverness up to a point, although if we went to wisdom, we would find that technologically we would advance by enormous strides. But we have the cleverness through mind at the moment to create some amazing technology. Things that could make the world a better place for everybody. But we use that technology to pepper bomb cities full of civilians. We are now such at the cutting edge of human evolution that we can kill more people than ever before. And we do. We're in a world where it seems okay for children to sign their names on bombs that then drop and kill other children. Like I say, we think the world is sane. Well, we people in this room don't, but so many people do, when it is utterly insane. And what keeps people from understanding this? The constant hypnotic trance that we put in. You are feeling sleepy. Tick-tock, tick-tock. You don't want to know about pepper bombing cities? Watch this. Shut up. Quick, honey. She's going for the car. Whoa. We live in a world of plenty, and yet people starve for the want of the basics. We have food galore in some parts of the world, which comes often from the parts of the world that go hungry. And we throw away more food than most people eat in many, many months. I've seen this in Ecuador. People living on rubbish tips, waiting for the vans to come from the Western hotels to pour the rubbish food, thrown away food on, and then they go and eat for the day from it. The world that we have allowed to happen. But don't look at that. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Look at this. Shut up. Hey, quick, honey. The Steelers are going to score. Cool, yeah. I got nothing against that. I love sport. But if we are in a situation where that becomes the focus of our reality at the exclusion of everything else, then while we're looking here, hell is going on here to stitch us up in the way that we have been. Oh, shut up. What's on the telly, honey? And then we drop bombs on the most crowded piece of land on the earth, Gaza. We protect ourselves. That's what we do. We do it to protect ourselves, apparently. This is what we do. This is liberation. Hey, liberation. And it's been going on. This is Vietnam. In the 20th century, humans killed well in excess of 100 million other humans in wars and conflicts. And it's still going on. Tick-tock, tick-tock, well, you don't want to see that. Hey, quick, honey, Paris Hilton's half naked in the back of a limousine. Come and look, it's really good. And that's the new religion. Instead of living life, hey, this is me, I'm going to live my life. Ooh, isn't that she got a nice dress on? There's this show, isn't she? And stuff. Oh, look, she's going to marry so-and-so. Oh, they're being divorced, yeah. It's the new religion. The celebrity, the religion of celebrity. I'm just in the supermarket. Oh, yeah, I'm getting some beans. They're up there. They don't have to shop in a supermarket because they're different. And then we have a situation where we have a system called money, which is based on money that has never, does not, and will never exist. Steps back in amazement to say it again. I didn't quite catch that. We have become so divorced from the world that we live in that most people never ask the simple question, what is money? When you go into a bank and you ask for a loan, $50,000 or something, what does the bank do? It does nothing in terms of moving precious metal anywhere, printing money, anything. It just types into your account $50,000. And from that moment on, you start paying back interest and eventually the principal, if you're lucky, on the $50,000. Because the same people that have controlled the politicians and the governments have controlled the banks, legislation's been passed which allows banks to lend at least 10 times, and my God, it's at least 10 times, what they have on deposit. So every time you put $1 in a bank, you're giving them the right legally to lend $10 dollars. And interestingly, when you, say, take out a loan for $50,000, that $50,000 has been given to your computer screen on the basis of someone else putting a fraction of that in the bank. And then you take that $50,000 and maybe you give someone $20,000 to buy something. They'll take that $20,000, which has already been created out of nothing, and they'll put it in another bank. Now the $20,000 from the original $50,000 gives this bank the right to lend 10 times the $20,000. And so it goes on. What a bank can create out of nothing and charge interest on to the population from $1 or $100 or whatever the figure is fantastic. And we don't ask questions. I've talked to economists, you know, who are earning cuckoo land amounts of money on the telly and stuff. I say, what is money? How is it created? They can't tell you. They never thought about it. It's just there. It's governments. No. It's the DNA of this society which holds this society more than anything else in so many ways, on a physical level, in servitude. Money created out of nothing, called debt, credit, which we then spend the rest of our lives paying back. But don't look at that. Don't let them know that. Tick, tick, tick. Hey, quick, honey, it's the Jerry Springer show. This man's going to punch his girlfriend. Come and look, honey. These are all the diversions, constantly. And then, of course, these people will tell you all the news that those that own the media want you to believe is true. It's what news is. And the whole foundation of all of it is be afraid, be very afraid. The big bad monster is coming as soon as we've invented him. Keep people in fear. Keep people in states of stress. In the end, said Martin Luther King, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. The freedom can be taken away when people say, okay, they're having their freedoms taken away, but it doesn't affect me, so that's fine. Oh, and they're having their freedoms taken away, but I don't like them, and I don't agree with what they said anyway, so that's fine. And eventually knock on the door. We're going to take your freedoms away now. Oh, you can't take mine. Oh, yes, we can. What was that saying? Pastor Niemöller after the Second World War in Germany. First they came for the Jews, and I was not a Jew, so I did nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I was not a trade unionist, so I did nothing. Then they came for the communists, and I was not a communist, so I did nothing. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. And that's what's happening now. Oh, yes, let's turn attention against the Muslims. Let's turn attention against these people, and these people, and these people. Let's pick them off, and then we'll come for you. Unity is what will bring this to an end. Not looking the other way because it doesn't affect us in the moment. It will affect us eventually if we do that. But what is there to fear about them? Nothing. What is there to fear about authority? Nothing. We are consciousness. All that is, has been, and ever will be. There is nothing to fear. Whatever happens, we are always that. Mind fears because it's programmed to fear. When we're conscious, there's no fear in this. It's a shake of the head. We need to do this. Compliance. We need to challenge that. Not with violence, not even with aggression. We just need not to fight it. We need to walk away. Because without our acquiescence, it cannot survive. You know, when you look at a pyramid, we've been manipulated to believe the power in a pyramid is at the top. It ain't. The top of the pyramid is there because the rest of the pyramid's holding it up. We're holding this whole thing together. Do you remember that movie, animated movie, A Bug's Life? A Bug's Life with the grasshoppers? And what happened was...
Guys, order another round because we're staying here. Yeah. What was I thinking going back to Ant Island? I mean, we just got here and we have more than enough food to get us through the winter, right? Why go back?
But there was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we We can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one? Are you kidding? How about this? You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? He's quite the motivational speaker, isn't he? Let's ride!
There was these ants and Ant Island, as they called it, and these grasshoppers used to come every year and take all the food, and the ants had to spend the whole year gathering the food together for the grasshoppers because they were terrified of the grasshoppers. And there weren't many of these grasshoppers, and one day, they're in their winter quarters in a tree, these grasshoppers, and they've got all the food they need, and someone suggested among the rank and file grasshoppers that they didn't need to go to Ant Island this year because they had all the food they needed. And then out came the leader of the grasshoppers to tell them the facts of life when the few are going to control the many. It's a wonderful speech. If you ever can see that movie, A Bug's Life, I do recommend it. And he said, basically, they outnumber us 100 to 1. And if ever they figure that out, there goes our way of life. So we have to keep the pressure on, basically. We have to keep them working, so they don't figure out where the real power is. And that's why this network of manipulation works so hard to keep us in these states. Like I said earlier, what are people leaving foreclosed homes for? Foreclosed by banks that have caused the unemployment that lead to them having to leave their homes. Stay there, refuse to leave, make it difficult for them. Expose them for what they are. We make it so easy, the non-compliance. No longer will we just do it because we're told to do it. Is it just? Is it right? Okay, I'll do it. Is it unjust? Is it not right? I ain't doing it. We start to make the decisions on what we will and will not do based on our values and not some imposition from the dark suits. These people are gonna give me, grant me, or grant me not my freedom. I'm all that is. You can't grant me freedom. No one can grant me freedom. I am freedom. It's what I am. These different protests need to just come together and realize they're protesting against the same force and the same agenda. And it's an agenda for the centralization of power in every area of our lives. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, all these things are just pawns and creations of these bloodlines to control from the center, to create a situation where no one has independence of maneuver in their own sphere of influence or community. It's about cross-matching dependency, so this can't operate without dependency on that, and that can't operate without dependency on that. Dependence. Dependence equals control. Independence equals choice equals freedom. That's why they want to take independence away. That's what globalization is. That's why they move jobs from one country into another country and move other jobs over here, and they move this over there. It's making everyone dependent on everyone else. Free trade, love it. Wouldn't it be great if we had free trade? Free trade, freedom to exploit trade, that's what it should be called. It allows transnational corporations to make things in sweatshops in one part of the world in horrendous conditions on horrendous wages, and then ship them across, no border taxes increasingly because it's globalization and it's free trade, and then they sell them to people with the money, and they make on both ends of the deal. That's what free trade is. We don't have capitalism. Anti-capitalist. I'm not anti-capitalist. We don't have capitalism. We have cartelism. That's what we have. And then you hear, to a certain extent, the anti-globalization movement. It's just, no, there's no conspiracy. It's just big, bad, greedy corporations. Yeah, controlled by the same people. The corporations are not the origin of globalization. They are the vehicle for it. I was kind of waking up one day, and I saw this earth imprisoned, and I saw this big lock and a key going in and being turned. I went on the internet just very shortly afterwards. I was looking for a picture, not this one, and that's what I saw. The picture I'd just seen in my half kind of sleep. And that's what we're being offered the chance to do now, to turn the master key called Becoming Conscious that will bring an end to this. It's being given to us. We just need to take it. And to take it, we need to say enough. Enough of being enslaved by these people. Enough of being enslaved by our manipulated ignorance. Enough of being enslaved by the fear of being who we are. Enough! It is time to fly. It is time to fly. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful. But we have lost the way. We think too much and feel too little. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost.
Society gets wrapped around becoming a part of a machine. Society, instead of becoming a bunch of individuals that are expressing themselves in unique ways, and everybody sort of borrows and shares and sells this and you sell that, and we all sort of figure out how we can contribute in a society, we got sidetracked and diverted into these boxes that they call companies and corporations, and we got stuck into these containers they call cubicles or offices, and we got forced into this system. So our time, instead of it being invested in making pottery or fixing cars or doing something where you have a passion or you have some sort of a connection to, instead of that, you've sold your life to sit in a box and work for a machine, an uncaring machine that demands productivity. It doesn't understand you. It doesn't want to understand you. Everybody's wearing clothes they don't want to wear. Everybody's showing up and doing something they don't want to do. They have no connection to. That's the problem with our society. And then what's the reward for all this stuff? Go home, get a big TV. Go home, you're going to get a shiny belt buckle. You're going to get a nice purse. You're going to wear shoes that you couldn't afford last week. You're going to get that dream car. And every week we're chasing down this new object. And every week we're trying to fill this hole in this sad shadow of a life that we've been left with after work. That you work 8 to whatever hours a day plus commuting, and then you're like this. And that's your life. That's your real fucking life. All that other stuff is not your life anymore. All that other stuff is work. And most of us have committed to that. I know you've been there before, and I've been there before. And we understand that it's a trap because we got out of it. But for the people that are in it, a lot of times they don't even understand it's a trap. They just think it's a good job. They think they got dental. I'm doing really good. You know, I got my own parking spots, got my name on it. And you're just a piece of a heartless, shitty machine that makes money.
If you worship money and things, if they are where you tap real meaning in life, then you will never have enough. Never feel you have enough. It's the truth.
We just need to figure out how to restructure society so everybody somehow or another plays a part, has something to contribute, has something to share. I mean, that's what a real society is supposed to be like.
In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure.
Well, essentially, there's always going to be a need for junk food.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a need for intellectual junk food as well. And much like actual food, if you offer people intellectual junk food, there's a certain group of us, and I lump me in there as well, that will self-sabotage. And they will eat junk food. And they will have a cheeseburger, and then they should really have a salad. And they will watch intellectual junk food when maybe it would do them better to sit down and read a book, or to watch Nova, or to, see a documentary. There's sometimes you don't want to watch a documentary. You want to watch a bunch of assholes bid on storage space. And it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And that's good too. Like, there's no reason you have to do serious stuff all day long.
You're right. But you're a balanced person.
Yeah.
And if you're an imbalanced person, much like people who just eat cheeseburgers, you're going to have intellectual junk food 24/7. You're going to be comforted. Your mind will be occupied by nonsense. And that's what we really need. Our minds are designed to be occupied by the pursuit of food, sustenance, and sexuality. That's what we're after. We're trying to find a place to rest, someone to fuck, something to eat. Keep going. Ready, go. Get up in the morning. Are you awake? Okay. Fill the needs. And now those needs are filled. Instead, you're plugged into a fucking video game. You're playing football with some digital characters, and you're eating pizza that some guy actually walked up to your fucking door. And all you have to do is give him some paper that means almost nothing, and he gives you pizza, and you stuff it in your fat face and go right back to your stupid game. And it's so easy to do that.
To me, if you're born in the world, you get a ticket to the freak show. They get a ticket to the freak show. If you're born in America, you got a front row seat.
They say your show was the most vile program ever to air on a major network.
That show's entertaining.
Well, so is
That's
a
why
snuff
everybody
film.
watched it.
The reason why Fear Factor existed or CSI exists, it's not that the government is like trying to convince you if you make a mistake, we'll catch you. We can take your fingerprints from the air. No. It's just that's what you want. You want crime shows. You're buying crime shows. If you buy crime shows, well, because you're scared, because you're like, what's happening in the world? Well, oh, what if the bad guy? So you're living your life in these weird paranoid ideas through this artificial medium.
Right.
But no one's trying to brainwash you. You think they are, but it's really more a matter of this is what people actually buy.
Yeah.
And is it because that's what they've been sold forever? Yeah, that too. Definitely that too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of dummies out there. There's a lot of dummies that just want to sit in front of that TV and watch someone go to what's going to happen on Law and Order. I'm going to guess the bad guy's going to lose.
Catalysts to say what has never been said, to see what has never been seen, to draw, paint, sing, sculpt, dance, and act. what has never before been done, to push the envelope of creativity and language. And what's really important is, I call it the felt presence of direct experience, which is a fancy term which just simply means we have to stop consuming our culture. We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR. Create your own road show. The nexus of space and time where you are now is the most immediate sector of your universe. And if you're worrying about Michael Jackson or Bill Clinton or somebody else, then you are disempowered. You're giving it all away to icons. Icons which are maintained by an electronic media, so that you want to dress like X or have lips like Y or something. This is shit-brained, this kind of thinking. That is all cultural diversion. And what is real is you and your friends and your associations, your highs, your orgasms, your hopes, your plans, your fears. And we're told, no, we're unimportant, we're peripheral, get a degree, get a job, get a this, get a that, and then you're a player. You don't even want to play in that game. You want to reclaim your mind and get it out of the hands of the cultural engineers who want to turn you into a half-baked moron consuming all this trash that's being manufactured out of the bones of a dying world. Where is that at? You know, what we have to do is stop looking for leadership from the top, because the least among us make their way into those positions of power. I mean, you can see that now. Those guys are not fit to throw guts down to a bear, any of them. And so, you know, what we have to do is knock off this fantasy of being citizens inside a democratic state. I mean, what we are the propagandized masses inside a fascist dictatorship. And what people have to do is begin to form affinity groups, get their own shit together, get their own goals defined, and then move out into it and do it. It's not going to come from, you know, the policy council of the Republican or Democratic Party. That's just silly to think that.
That's the problem with human beings, man, is that there's a broad spectrum of us, and the broad spectrum is necessary in order to have this sort of a complex society. Until we invent robots that are going to do shitty jobs, we're going to need monkeys. We're going to need dumb fucking people. We're going to need idiots. You know, that's a terrible way to look at the world. And it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody born into the idiot family has to be an idiot. It doesn't necessarily mean that the idiots can't, like, snap out of it if somehow they do mushrooms or take a yoga class or try to look at their life in a different way. But for many people, the reason why they're idiots is not necessarily that their brain doesn't work that well. It's that they got in a terrible pattern, like, really early in life, and they have become a dumb fuck. And they're stuck, and they live with a bunch of other dumb fucks, so they get all this negative energy all the time. They're constantly dealing with conflicts at home that are meaningless but distract them from getting good at anything in life or from getting your own personal shit together, because all your energy is being diverted towards conflicts. Like, that's why it's so important to not have negative people in your life. Because if you're trying to evolve, and I know you are, and I am, and all of our friends are, everyone's trying to improve as a person. It's very difficult to fucking figure out how to be a person. It's very difficult to figure out how to manage your energy and know when you're wrong and know when you're being upset for no reason. It's a tricky thing, you know, and one of the most important things about it is you need to pay attention. You need to have time to think about your own interactions with other people, to think about, like, the way you behave, to think about the way you think, to think about, like, the direction that you're moving in the world. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of energy. And if your energy is being spent constantly dealing with bullshit,
culture is a closed system of thinking and values of the sort I am denouncing. And it is the greatest barrier to your enlightenment, your education, and your decency is your culture. And I realize with joy that here I skirt the bounds of political correctness, because everyone is running around saying, you know, recapture your roots, get in touch with your Swedishness, your Irishness, your whatever-ishness, and that's all very fine, but I think it's your humanness that may have eluded you in all this ethnocentric breastfeeding. Well, why should culture imprison us and somehow place a barrier between ourselves and our true humanness? Well, I think I said at the beginning of this thing, culture and ideology are not your friends. They are not your friends. This is a hard thing to come to terms with, because a certain kind of alienation lies at the end of this thought process. Culture is for the convenience of culture, not you. How many times have your sexual desires, career aspirations, financial dealings, and aesthetic inclinations been squashed, twisted, rejected, and minimized by cultural values? And if you don't think culture is your enemy, ask the 18-year-old kid who is given a rifle and sent to the other side of the world to murder strangers if culture is his friend. You're choosing to limit yourself to a cultural reality, whether it's the reality of being Witoto or Orthodox Jewish or whatever it is. It's a smaller world than the simple hardware you were born into this universe with.
What civilization is 6 billion people trying to make themselves happy by standing on each other's shoulders and kicking each other's teeth in. It's not a pleasant situation, and yet you can stand back and look at this planet and see that we have the money, the power, the medical understanding, the scientific know-how, the love, and the community to produce a kind of human paradise. But we are led by the least among us, the least intelligent, the least noble, the least visionary. We are led by the least among us, and we do not fight back against the dehumanizing values that are handed down as control icons. This is something, I mean, I don't really want to get off on this tear because it's a lecture in itself, but culture is not your friend. Culture is for other people's convenience and the convenience of various institutions, churches, companies, tax collection schemes, what have you. It is not your friend. It insults you. It disempowers you. It uses and abuses you. None of us are well treated by
trouble so hard. Ooh, Lord, my trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Ooh, Lord, my trouble so hard. Ooh, Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Ooh, Lordy, trouble so hard. Ooh, Lordy, trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Went down the hill the other day.
Culture, and yet we glorify, the creative potential of the individual, the rights of the individual. We understand the felt presence of experience is what is most important, but the culture is a perversion. It fetishizes objects, creates consumer mania, it preaches endless forms of false happiness, endless forms of false understanding in the form of swirly religions and silly cults. It invites people to diminish themselves and dehumanize themselves by behaving like machines, meme processors of memes passed down from Madison Avenue and Hollywood and what have you. How do we fight that? It's a question worth answering. Same question as how do we fight that? I think that by creating art, man was not put on this planet to toil in the mud. Or the God who put us on this planet to toil in the mud is no God I want to have any part of. It's some kind of Gnostic demon. It's some kind of cannibalistic demiurge that should be thoroughly renounced and rejected. By putting the art pedal to the metal, we really, I think, maximize our humanness and become much more necessary and incomprehensible to the machines.
Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Ooh, Lordy, my trouble so hard. Ooh, Lordy, my trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Don't nobody know my trouble but God.
Cheap, extractable natural resources. This is now impossible. There is no cheap labor, and the cost of continued extraction of natural resources is the death of the planet. What we have to do is back away from our obsession with things. We can no longer define our worth through attachment to things. We have to create a psychology that reinforces inner worth.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.